Hi, my name's Pete Rainford and you're watching Rainford's Wood Studio. In this video I'm going to show you how I made an end grain cutting board from some European oak and some white ash for under £20. So as promised, an end grain cutting board for under £20. Just to go through the materials here before I start building this, I've got some European oak here, which for an 8-foot length or 2.4 metre length by 8 inches cost me £17. And I've got some white ash here, which for a 10-inch wide by 8-foot length also cost me around £17. I worked out that we need around 36 inches of each of these boards to allow for some snipe and some cuts, etc., some curve, and I'm putting that at roughly £7 of timber from the oak and £7 of timber from the ash. So £14 worth of timber. Then we come to the glue. I use Everbuild D4 because this is completely waterproof, it's food safe, and it's basically Type Bond 3 alternative at a fraction of the price. It's very strong. That's what I use. This is about £7-8 a litre when I bought it. For this project I'm going to be using roughly half, so I'm going to say £4 worth of glue. Chopping board oil, this was £12 for 5 litres. We're only going to need about 100 millilitres to soak this board. I could put it in a few litres overnight and let it soak, but essentially it's only going to absorb X amount of oil, and I think 100 millilitres will do easily. And then there's the chopping board butter, cutting board butter, which I made in a previous video, which I'll link below. Again, we're not going to need much of this. Might be 50 pence to £1 worth. So if you add all that up, it comes to less than £20. Now, quick disclaimer, it will not cover my time. There's going to be a lot of love and a lot of work that goes into this cutting board. I'm really looking forward to seeing the end result. I will not be keeping this one because, again, in the previous video, I made a side grain cutting board from some Purple Heart, some ash, and some European oak again, actually. And I've kept that. I don't need another one unless my partner talks me into keeping this one. So this will be going on sale on Etsy again. Once it's finished, there'll be a link down below. By all means, buy it. It'll be good. Okay, so first things first, need to mark up this European oak and this ash to 36 inches. Glasses on, Pete. 36 inches. And life begins at the miter saw, but you already knew that, didn't you? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces of ash. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces of oak, although that was a little bit small, tiny bit narrow, so 13 of these anyway. 7 ash and 6 oak. There's quite a lot of snipe at that end, but I'm hoping I've left these long enough to be able to discard that when it comes to the final glue up. Yeah, I'm not going to worry. So it's time to alternate these. Ash, oak, ash, oak, ash, oak, ash, oak, ash, oak, ash, oak, ash. Glue up time. get these clamps off. Okay, so I'm just going to remove some of this glue. I've got one piece of oak on this side, which is quite thin at the end, which I hadn't noticed on the glue up. But once I get this through the planer thicknesser, we can sort that out. Just means the segments will be at least a couple of mils shorter, so it might affect the overall length of the cutting board, but not by too much, I hope. I'm also going to have to trim one of these pieces of ash off the sides, because I've glued 13 of these together and they're an inch thick, which means I can't get it through my planer thicknesser, which I wasn't really bothered about. I was going to use my belt sander or hand planer just to get it flat both sides, but because of that gap there, I'm going to trim one of these off. And the reason I made it 13 inches wide, 13 segments wide, is because I wanted to stagger the checkered effect that this is going to create when we rotate the pieces after they're cut. So if I cut one of these off, I'm then going to have to just make it like a standard draftsboard or chessboard, which is fine. You know, the strength will be there. It doesn't need to be staggered for the strength because this glue is so strong and waterproof, of course. So it is what it is. Let's get to it. After planing this end, we've still got this little low board here. You see the cut marks from the table saw blade. So I've marked it here to get rid of that, and I'm going to cut that with the track saw in a second. And then at the other end, obviously all the way up to where we have the snipe problems, which that's unavoidable. So I'm going to cut that with the track saw there, which leaves us from that line to this line with 32 inches. So in order to get the length of 16 inches that I want, I now have to cut down on the width, which the thickness of the board was originally going to be 2 inches thick. So I'm going to cut that down to about 46 millimeters, so just shy, but then it still allows me to get the length when we cut these and flip them. Okay, so I've just made this crosscut jig for my table saw, but as nice as it is for small offcuts, this cutting board is 3 foot long in its present form, and I need to cut it into 2-inch sections, or just over 2 inches, to allow for a bit of sanding so that it's 2 inches thick final. So what I've done is I've clamped this piece of 3x2 CLS timber over the top of it, so that it will hold it in place to help me out, because it's too long, so I need to make a bigger table sled basically. But I'm limited for room in here, so you know, I try and keep things as small as possible. Let's see how this goes. Okay, so I've cut them all up and I've spaced them out in the, you know, chessboard sort of. Maybe an inch and a half shorter than I intended, but by the time I've trimmed the sides off a little bit, the dimensions will look pretty good. Still going to be a serious chunk of wood. As usual, I'm using D4 Everbuild because it's waterproof and 100% food safe, and it's basically the Type 1-3 equivalent, but it's got to be in the region of half the price, maybe less. think we better test this, haven't we? I've marked the centre point there, so we need to mark the centre point of the board. Line those up, clamp them up at the end of the workbench, switch the trim router on, and hope for the best. Right, 29.6 millimeters. Okay, so I'm just going to go a little bit deeper. That really was just 2 or 3 millimeters. So I'm going to take it down another 2 or 3 millimeters. There we go. Very pleased. A little bit of a burnout there, but I can get that sanded. I don't want to go any deeper, so I think there's plenty. Okay, so that's the handles done with the new jig. Time for a 3mm round over, including the handles, both sides, and then a fair bit of sanding. Then we can use another jig to put some G-screws in. G-screw jig. Okay, give it a quick rough sanding with 60, then up to 100, 150 and 240. Okay, so just raising the grain here. Look at that, gives us a sneak preview of how it's going to look, eh? And then once I've worked this all around, sand it again with 240 grit, and that stops the board from feeling hairy when it first gets wet. Okay, need to leave that to dry for, well, until it's dry. Okay, so raise the grain. It's quite hairy, so I'm just going to give it another sand down with 240. Time to put this in some oil, finally. 100% mineral oil, chopping board oil. And we'll put this on here to dry. Okay, gonna let that dry overnight. Then in the morning, it's gonna have some board butter and some feet, and then we're done. Okay, this board has been drip drying overnight. Time for some board butter and some feet, and it'll be done. Some board butter, my own recipe. Apply it nice and generously. There'll be a link to how to make this in the description below. To a video I made. I have to make some more of this soon. Not much left. Okay, we'll let that soak in for about half an hour or so. Then it'll be time to just wipe off the excess. Yeah, that's looking really good. Okay, that's had a good half hour. Just going to wipe it down. Okay, board almost finished. A small matter of putting some feet on it. 3 centimeters in from each corner. Seems like a good. So there you have it, an end grain cutting board made from European oak and white ash with a juice groove, rubber feet and some cutting board handles. All for less than £20. Thanks for watching, see you next time.